Hi everyone, I'm Paola Astegiano from FIT Consulting, and as FIT Consulting we are the coordinator of the DISCO project, which actually represents the topic of this course. During my presentation I will go through the general overview of the project, while in the other unit the evaluation framework that has been developed within DISCO will be presented. Let's start to see to present you what is DISCO. DISCO is an innovation action project co-founded by the European Commission, started in May 2023. It is made by a large consortium of 47 partners, and as I said before, FIT Consulting is the coordinator of this large project. DISCO has an own mission, which is, I would say, made by three main points. The first one is to support the scaling of the digital maturity of logistic planning in European cities. The second one is to favor the optimal and strategic use of urban space using a physical internet-led approach. And the third one is to accelerate the twin transition, promoting smart and sustainable logistic planning. Within DISCO, we also have 8 main living labs, which are implementing 23 different measures, and then we also have 4 early adopters. In the next slides, I will give you a brief overview of the implementation, but in the other unit you will see more detail about it. One of the main objectives of DISCO is to accelerate the twin transition by 2050, promoting smart logistic planning, and thus the results of all the tools, the methodologies, data space that I will talk about will serve as input for upgrading the SALP guidelines. In addition, DISCO will also deliver a digital guide that we called in the project Adaptive Blueprint, and will drive the living labs towards their digital transformation. Finally, I would say that DISCO aims also to strengthen the topic of urban logistic planning in the context of EU missions. Let's talk a bit about the main technical output of DISCO. Within DISCO, we have 2 horizontal main technical output. One is what we called the Meta Model Suite. The Meta Model Suite is a digital platform that helps cities in selecting the most appropriate measure based on their physical internet digital readiness level. These measures are grouped in 5 so-called DISCO X, which each of them is related to a particular use of space. So we have, for instance, DISCO Proxy, which include all measures related to nearby deliveries that can be lockers or micro hub. We have DISCO Bay, which is related to multimodal hub that can be used to push, let's say, green last mile delivery. We have DISCO Curb, which is more related to the smart and flexible use of the curbside. We have DISCO Estate, which is instead related to underused space within different type of buildings. And finally, we have this collection, where I would say that all the living labs are involved, because the DISCO collection is going to transform the data collected by the living lab in the right format to be then ingested within the data space. Here, let me go to the next slides where you can see the cut view of the MetaModel suite. As here in these slides, you can also see the link to access the MetaModel suite. I see in my camera that probably is a bit overlapping, but you will receive the slides, so you will be you will be able to access this link. You can see that in the MetaModel suite there are different steps, and these steps will guide the cities in understanding which group of measure is better to implement in their city based on their physical internet readiness level. Then let's go through the other main technical output, which is the urban freight data space. The urban freight data space is strictly connected to the MetaModel suite because basically the MetaModel suite, after having suggested which measure should be implemented by the cities, it will also tell the cities where they can, which data they need and where they can find this data. And the MetaModel suite will also suggest a way to connect to the data space. Let's say that the data space is the Disco data sharing ecosystem, where data can be shared between companies, public administration, civil society, in full compliance with the principle of sovereignty, interoperability, and trust. As you can see in the diagram, we have different type of data sources. In this case, we have access rules, parking, real estate location, but we also have the tools belonging to the different Disco X that are going to consume this data. The data that enter in the data space remain with the owner of this data. Then the app is going to consume the data, knowing where can find this data, but we'll use this data only under certain conditions. Then, as I mentioned, with Disco collection, which we can also call Smart Data Platform, we are going to transform the data in the right format in order to give them an input in the data space. This step is not mandatory because some data are already in the right format, but for some specific data, this step is very much needed. Now, at this stage when I'm doing this presentation, we have 3 data types. We have 7 cities onboarded, and the city that you see, not all of them comes from the Disco project. We have, for instance, Leven and Asselt that are not coming from the Disco project, and we have 4 applications connected. Again, not all of them comes from the Disco project. So I would say that this is already a very good results. Now, let's briefly give to you an overview of the Disco Living Lab. We have a 3-step approach. We have the Starring Living Lab that they have finished their implementation, and thus they are now also finalizing the evaluation. For this reason, this course will be based only on the results coming from the Starring Living Lab. Then we have a second step, which is more related to the scaling of the measure that the Starring have implemented, and it is currently ongoing. And then we have the final step, which is related to the early adopters. Since the course is focused on the Starring Living Lab, I will give now a brief overview of the measure implemented in the Starling. However, you will find more details in the other units. So briefly to tell you, we have, as I said, 4 Starling. Let's start with Thessaloniki, that implemented 4 different measures around the concept of warehouse as a service, which is a platform that allows the match between the logistic operator's demand and the real estate offer. In this context, the Expo, which is located at the border of the city center, has been used to move the storage of the main Greek logistic operator. That before was located exactly in the middle of the city center. In the Ghent Living Lab, we have said 3 different measures built around the concept of urban access control, which means that the access rules of the cities are integrated within the transport management system of the logistic operator in order to suggest them the best possible route, but also the most sustainable mode of transport, so the green last mile delivery options. Then we have other 2 Starling Living Lab. One is Copenhagen. Copenhagen implemented 4 different measures, and I would say that as per their core activities, they use a digital twin to collect and analyze data coming from different resources such as camera data, sensor data, but also logistic operator data. They feed with all this data the digital twin, and they simulate some scenarios with some specific measure to understand which type of measure to include in their SALP. Then we have Helsinki. In Helsinki, we have 3 main measures. One is related with the realization of a multi-stakeholder hub. So in the basement of a shopping center, a micro hub has been established where we have the cooperation between logistic operator that also share some means of transport. For this specific case, you can also find in our website or in our social a concept design where all pros and cons of this multi-stakeholder micro hub have been detailed. Then the other measure is related to curbside management from 2 different angles, because Helsinki combined the data coming from, on one side, camera as a sensor, and on the other side, from the floating car data of commercial vehicles. This combination of data gave to them an understanding of the logistic patterns. Now, let me conclude with a concept in which we strongly believe. The physical internet should be used as an instrument to push the digital revolution in urban logistics. And a paradigm change in the use of space is what is very much needed. Urban logistics smart solutions should start to see the space as a commodity. And this is what we are trying to do in Disco, and for which we really see good results. Yeah, my time is finished. Here you can find the details, how to reach us on our social, on our website, but of course you also have all my details in case you would like to reach out directly to me. I would be very happy to answer all your questions. Many thanks for your participation, and I hope you enjoyed this session and you are going to enjoy also all the other units. Thanks.